Hello guys, welcome to Duels in Shadow. Today I'm gonna showcase my version of Magical Musketeer deck for this format. I think it is a pretty good rogue deck because it got indirect support with linking into the Vrains from the Mega Packs. And I think this version is really good against some meta matchups because it can play a Dimensional Shifter and can do without your graveyard. So let's start with the main deck. We have 3 Magical Musketeer Caspar, Standard, 3 Magical Musketeer Starfire, and 3 Kid Brave. So this is as your standard lineup, you should not change any of them. And the 10th and the last of them, I play 1 Magical Musketeer Doc. So if you don't draw the shifter, Doc can engage a card from the graveyard, and I don't think you should play any more than this because you don't want to brick with them too much in your hand, too much monsters. You want to see 1 or 2 of them. Next, Magical Musketeer Spells and Traps. So 3 Cross Domination, 3 Last Stand, and 3 Desperado. This is a standard lineup. You should not touch any of them. These cards are broken. The last Magical Musketeer Spell and Trap is Dancing Needle. This card is really good against Tier, Sprite, and any deck that plays with their graveyard. So you should play this, but you shouldn't play more than 1 because it is a brick if you draw 1 or 2. So you want to search it when you want it and not draw it. So that's it with the Magical Musketeer cards. The only hand trap that we play is the Dimension Shifter. So why not play this card? If you can, it shuts down a pretty good portion of the meta decks, and we can play without it, so without our graveyard. And the reason this deck is playable, 3 link into the Vrains, so you can go into max without your normal summon, and he cannot be negated, so the card is broken. Next, for the spells, 2 Pot of Desires. You should not play Prosperity in this deck because we want to deal damage, and Kid Brave is another Pot of Greed, so the combination of these 2 is really good. For the board breakers, I play 3 Super Poly. You want to play Super Poly because it gives you advantage, gets rid of your opponent's monsters, and gives you damage to OTK. The second best is Dark Ruler. So you want to Dark Ruler their board with 3, 4 or 5 monsters, and you want your max to search those 3, 4 or 5 cards, which is pretty insane. And the last of the board breakers is Mystic Mine. It serves the same purpose as Dark Ruler. You want to prevent your opponent from negating your max, which will search for a lot of cards. And the last card for the Mystic Mine search. Last 3 cards are Spell and Trap removal. So every deck now has some kind of back row threat, like Smashers, like Branded Beast now, which is really bad when you normal summon your Magical Musket monster. You want to get into the max, and this helps you a lot. So for the extra deck, I play only 2 Caspar, only 2 Max. We don't need the third. We don't want our grind game to be more than 2 or 3 turns because every meta deck will grind you out in the like turn 4 or 5 Tier or Sprite. So we want to OTK as fast as possible. Next, 1 Lina and 1 Dark. So there's no explanation. Your whole deck is light. You need liner to go into the link plays, and dark is here because our three super poly targets are dark. This can become dark, and everybody plays some darks in their deck. So every meta deck. So only three super poly targets. Next for the links, one Nightmare Phoenix and one Nightmare Unicorn. You can co-link Phoenix when you use its effect because Max is a down pointing arrow, so you can use its effect, draw another card. It's insane. For the Link Force, I play Topologic Ouroboros. This card is insane. You use Desires, you use Shifter, so there will be some banished cards, and your opponent will likely be banishing cards, so it's another way to OTK your opponent. We should play this. Another Link Force is access code. You need this to end games. No explanation. I play Underworld Goddess. It gets rid of problematic monsters. In this place you can also play Borderload if you have a lot of Despia matchups where you want to take their Mirror Jade if you can't OTK them. Underworld Goddess is good against like Maninces or Etignister when your monster it's unaffected by. The last three cards are the Zeus package. So you can summon off of max level 3 monsters, which we play only level 3s in the deck. You make max, you make levier, so you can take some of your level 4 or lower magical musket monsters that is banished because of the shifter, and you take your Caspar and make Caspar, and above him you make the Zeus package, where then you have Caspar if your max is not here. You have Caspar to make plays, to search another card, so if they deal with your Caspar you still have Zeus for the wipe. For the side deck, this depends really on your locals or the tournament you're going to. So for locals it's much more roguish matchups, and for the regional tournament this side deck is pretty good. So 2 Raigekis. I want some more board breakers for those big boards because we have small monsters which cannot get over the big ones. So I wanted, besides Super Poly, some board breakers that will deal with the monsters, that will get rid of them. So next, the third Cosmic Cyclone. We play 2 in the main deck and Duster. I think this is enough backer removal. If you go to a locals, maybe you'll need one more Twin Twister or something like that. But I think this is enough. So 3 Nibiru. I want to play this in the main deck. You can play this in the main deck if there's not much sprite or tier element. But it is not good now as it was in the main deck. This card is great in our deck because it gives your opponent a token which you can then search off of max for that one token, and you have a pretty big body to OTK, which helps this deck a lot. It has problems with OTKing. So the next 9 cards are the going first cards, because I want to go second with this deck, and after siding I will try to trick my opponent and go first. If I lose the game 1, and then they will side to go first because they think I'll let them go first, but I'll go first, and then I'll try to normal summon a monster and put any of these turn skip cards underneath Caspar. So 3-dimensional barrier, 3 different dimension ground. So which you want to draw any one of these and set it, normal summon, set this and pass a turn. You'll turn skip your opponent if they play a deck which the most of the meta will turn skip against these cards. So you'll search off Casper, get turn skip, and the next turn you have much more advantage because they will not make a great board and you'll search off of Casper max a lot. So these 9 cards. The last 3 cards, you won't try to set them under the Casper, but these are also pretty good going first cards because your opponent knows that you're playing Magical Musketeer and they won't side in any back row removal because you use your spell and traps from the hand. So this is pretty good for the Gozen match because they won't have a card to get rid of it, and it's really hard for pretty much every deck in today's metagame to play smoothly under the Gozen match. You can change your side depending on your locals, depending on the tournament you're going to, but I made this deck especially for the Tier and Sprite Runic matchup. I think it wrecks those decks and it's been really good in testing. So that's it, thank you for watching and see you.